morning, and thank you for shaking off the haze of your business meetings last night. That's me when I'm looking very rested. I'm here well, first of all, I'm Andy Radlow. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Business Officer for Grabango. We're an invisible payments, or what I'm going to interchangeably use the term checkout free throughout this discussion. Uh, uh, we're based in Berkeley, California. For the duration of this presentation, I'd like for us all to agree to what invisible payments are. Invisible payments, in my mind, are something similar to nebulous terms like artificial intelligence or tiramisu, or other types of terms that nobody agrees to what it is, but they all agree it's something good. Invisible payments are going to be, for the duration of this talk, payments that don't require a human initiation and don't require the presentment of a payment instrument or a smartphone or anything like that. Similar to what Andrew described as the Uber experience when you're leaving your ride. Just think about leaving your grocery store, your C-store, without having to do anything more than walk out. If we can agree to that, then let's talk about the technology strategies for delivering this kind of technology. Category one is computer vision centric. We are a card-carrying member of the computer vision centric strategy. Standard Cog in San Francisco, just like us, and then there's Trigo Vision out of Tel Aviv, Israel. Sensor Fusion is also computer vision oriented, but they have additional sensors in the network that add data for either additional services or for boosting accuracy. But these additional sensor networks add rigidity and cost, and so there's a trade-off between these two technology strategies. To put a fine point on defining what invisible payments or checkout-free technology is and is not, I submit that scan and go and self-checkout are not examples of checkout-free. There's a lot of obfuscation in the press today where I think some technology providers and some retailers are saying, hey, wait, I've got checkout-free and frictionless payments as well because I've got scan and go. Really, these technology strategies are shifting the friction and the effort from the cashier to the shopper, but they are not eliminating the effort or friction. There are lots of announcements that have been made lately in the invisible payments or checkout-free world. You'll see that there's been announcements for deployments in Brazil from Zippin, for example, 2 weeks ago, 2 small store formats. Japan, Israel, Poland. But if you want an example of a large grocery store chain or top 10 C-store retailer partnering to deploy checkout-free technology or invisible payment technology in the United States, then Grabango is your company. We have announced with Giant Eagle, for example, 6 weeks ago. Anybody familiar with Giant Eagle? Anybody from the Northeast? Okay. They're a top 20 grocer, large grocer chain, just like all of our clients. We're starting at the top of the retail pyramid instead of at the bottom, which is what the majority of our competitors are doing. So just a couple of words about Grabango to put a fine point on who we are. I'm going to make a mental note to say fine point and no more times during this presentation. We were founded in 2016. You may not have heard of us yet. We only emerged from stealth in January of this year. As Andrew pointed out, we were founded by none other than Will Glazer, who was the co-founder and founding CTO of Pandora Media, the popular music app. And at Pandora, Will basically built machine learning models to predict human taste in music, which previous to that, people thought was impossible. And it was that early work that has snowballed with the combination of declining cost in compute and, of course, immensely more powerful compute options that the idea of Grabango was founded. Also with Grabango, you're probably talking with the leader in intellectual property ownership. We started filing patents early in 2016, well before Amazon or any of the other players in the invisible payments industry. So if you're looking for somebody that has a strong degree of ownership of intellectual property, that would also be with us. And as I mentioned, we have 4 clients. So if we have the pleasure of deploying all of the stores with just our 4 early clients, we're talking about 29 million square feet of shopper space and over 600 million shops per year. And we've just gotten the tip of the iceberg as far as the potential in this market. Lots of technology comes along with understanding everything in 3 dimensions from 10 feet in the air down to the ground. Our system has a animated rendering of the store, which I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. And that includes every item of inventory down to the SKU level, every shopper, and every worker. And the computer vision modeling automates the understanding of the interactions between these entities, and that is what is required for invisible payments. You can have security apps, you can have shopping analytic apps, you can have theft reduction apps, you can have streamlining and elegant shopper experience apps. It's really endless when you have basically a digital understanding of what's happening in a physical brick and mortar store. But for us, our focus is on eliminating the #1 problem in retail around the world, and that is shoppers' objection to waiting in line to check out. So our almost elementary mission is to eliminate lines to save people time. It's a big market. A quarter of the gross product of the world is retail sales in brick and mortar stores. 1/4 of the gross product. If you narrow that down just to the United States, not that we're only focused on the United States, we'll be expanding geographically starting next year. But if you just focus on the United States, just on grocery, and just on C-stores in the United States, not counting fuel sales, which would be an artificial inflation of this figure, you're still looking at $1 trillion in gross sales per year, $1 trillion. And that industry, as big as it is, less than 3% of that is e-commerce. So despite Webvan all the way out to Instacart, all of that effort, all of that investment, it's basically about 2.5% of sales for these 2 industry sectors. And meanwhile, using our own customers' calculations, they expect to expand net profit by 5 to 8%. Now, expanding net profit by 5 to 8% might not sound like a lot to you, but let's say that's a $1 trillion industry, and that industry today nets only 1 to 3% on average. Kroger, anybody know what the net profit for Kroger in the last year has been? It's less than 1%. Actually, it was 0.9%, but they're going to miss that on the downside. So if you increase profits by even 5%, you're looking at tripling or quadrupling the average profitability of these high revenue businesses. So again, a very large opportunity. All right, Andy, let's get on with understanding how do we deliver these invisible payments and what do they look like and what's the shopper experience, okay? Well, of course, our journey starts at the famous point of sale. I would submit that the vast majority of all of you, just like me, have spent their fintech and mobile payments careers concentrating on the point of sale or the payment terminal or the loyalty systems or the acquiring network or the payment gateway to remove friction, to add value to payments. And that's been noble work, but I'm afraid that it's what happens before the point of sale that enables invisible payments and all of the value that I've described so far. We've broken it down into 3 steps, and this is universally agreed to across the industry. The first step is assigning a virtual cart or virtual shopping basket. The vast majority of competitors in this space have barricades where you show a QR code and you badge in. A lot of people like to coin the phrase check-in is the new check-out, which we don't object to. We just think that barricades are kind of tough, because if you're going to really retrofit the stores that people are familiar with today, know and love, then you can't put a barricade up with a QR code reader, because you're going to be turning people away. Existing stores are looking to increase their top lines because they have this great new shopping experience, and they want to bring more people in, not turn people away. So that's a little note about our strategy. The next step, and this is a biggie, is accurately and quickly recognizing shopper events and filling that basket accurately. That's not a small feat. To recognize human interactions between all the inventory that you have in your 3-dimensional database and the actions between shoppers and workers, that's tough to do. And to do that in a timely basis is extra challenging. We believe we can do it, or we are doing it, with computer vision only, and we can achieve that because we have our own hardware platform. Vast majority of competitors in this space take off-the-shelf hardware. I'll give you some examples of that in a moment. That's a lot more expensive, and you can't put it in a densely enough or a dense enough pattern to give you all of the angles, to give you the accuracy. Instead, our hardware platform has computer vision sensor clusters that are very compact, that allow us to use low-cost componentry, but give very dense coverage on the lowest cost per square foot in the market today. So there are different approaches. We'll see how that comes out. The last step is probably the most attractive, in that this is where the virtual basket and all the SKUs in that basket get injected into the point of sale. And then you have reward credentials and then tokenized secured payment credentials put into the point of sale. This is really in the case of Grabango. Others have their own point of sale. That's not going to fly with multi-billion-dollar grocery chains like our clients. They insist that it's their point of sale. So we need to conform to their system, not sell them on a new system. But what does this mean? What's exciting about this is that when you're shopping, whether you have the app or not, you're going to walk up to a cashier station just like you do today, but you don't have to put the items on the conveyor belt anymore. You don't have to wait for somebody to robotically scan barcodes and weigh items, and then you don't have to wait for them to be repackaged. All of that effort, all of that time is replaced by the Grabango system, or your invisible payment system, I should say. I would say that the next level that's been achieved in invisible payments has been accomplished by Grabango, in that if you look at some examples of breakthroughs in mobile payments, we could start with Starbucks. Starbucks is really a cash to digital transaction with loyalty play. It was a sensational success, and it's driven by a QR code read at the point of sale. Brilliantly executed. They deserve all of the credit and profits that they've derived from that. The next breakthrough might be, in your mind, the Uber experience, right? This is a true invisible payment. It doesn't require you initiating it manually, and it doesn't require a payment instrument to be displayed. You just stand up and walk out. That's exciting. We're replicating that exit experience, but we're doing it not with point of sales that are owned by Starbucks and run by Starbucks, or owned by Uber and run by Uber. Instead, we're implementing invisible payments, but we're achieving that across multiple points of sale. So if you go into one market on the weekend and a different market during the week, it's the exact same experience operating on a completely different payment system. And we achieve that by using a third-party vault, payment vault service for all of the PII-oriented secure payment efforts. We keep all of the reward credentials. We time the delivery of that with the SKU data in accordance with the requirements of each point-of-sale system, and that's how we operate. Everybody wants to know what these things look like. So is anybody from New York? New York? Okay, thank you. Well, if you're in Long Island and you want to experience checkout free in a large store format, then this is what you'll experience when visiting Levittown Walmart IRL store. This right here is an example of what I would call an obtrusive invisible payment system, as contradictory as those terms might appear. There are literally thousands of 4-lens Zooter cameras in this 35,000 square foot store. There's network technology from Zebra, as you can see, hanging in the aisleways. Those black doored items there, those are 19-inch racks mounted in the ceiling. Each one of these devices has a single cable connection. That whole thing costs millions of dollars before you have any R&D or software applied. You might feel slightly observed when you're in this shopping experience, if not radiated. This right here is a somewhat unfair image of an Amazon Go store. Who's used Amazon Go? All right, I expect more hands from you payment professionals. And you can cure that right now because there's an Amazon Go store 1.5 blocks towards City Center right now, and I absolutely encourage you to do it. Once again, Amazon has done a brilliant job of technology innovation and self-restraint of not rolling this technology out until it's ready. Kudos to them, and they are just scaring the living daylights out of every major retailer around the world and driving them to Grabango. So I applaud Amazon, and on a serious note, they've made some. These are huge breakthroughs in technology achievement. In any case, they use off-the-shelf technology as well. If I had a pointer, if you look at the top there, that's a cable bundle that's this thick and this round. That literally will weigh thousands of pounds going the length of a grocery store. You'd probably have to reinforce the ceiling just to hold that up. These cameras, this is an individual camera with an individual plug. If that plug comes loose, you have a hole in coverage. You're not able to collect revenue and produce accurate receipts in that area. That also has a GPU on the back of that single lens camera. That thing costs thousands of dollars for every one of them. And if you packed them all in there, you wouldn't get the density that you get with a more elegant design like that. This right here is a G-rail string. Each one of our G-rails is 5.5 feet long. This is in the largest checkout-free or invisible payment store in the world, located 15 miles from our headquarters. All of our clients are located 15 miles from our headquarters because we believe that flying to Poland to deploy your small format store is really expensive. Instead, we'd rather drive 15 miles and do it in a big store and save valuable equity dollars. But this is a G-rail that performs not only checkout free or invisible payment, but it also out-of-stock detection, shrink reduction, and provides an elegant shopper experience. Okay, what kind of shopper experience are you talking about, Andy? Well, as you enter the store, whether you're a Sherry shopper with the app or a Johnny Cash Pay without the app, you're assigned a virtual basket. As you make your way through the store, you shop as you normally do. The one minor change might be that you can put items in your jacket, you can put items in your backpack, you can put items in your red wagon so you can just wheel home. In your wheelchair, it doesn't matter to us. We associate any purchase behavior with you as an individual. And as you make your way to checkout, then if you have the app and you don't have any exceptions, like let's say an alcohol purchase that requires an ID, then you're just waved on and you exit the store and you receive an electronic receipt. If you're Johnny Cash Pay and you want to preserve your privacy and preserve your anonymity, which is a big issue in America, a tremendous issue in Germany, and a non-issue in China, so it depends on your market. But literally, seriously, in China, there are these zones of computer vision throughout the city that people don't want to leave because they don't feel safe because it's not being protected by computer vision. It's just a completely different attitude. In any case, if you're Johnny Cash Pay and you want to pay with cash or government assistance, EBT, SNAP, WIC, this is part of the inclusive design of Grabango that's not supported by any of the other providers yet today. And that is that we designed this for someone other than just well-to-do Silicon Valley, engineering types. There are people that are not very app-oriented. There are people that don't understand how this works. They just want to get out of the store faster, but they want to preserve their privacy. And if that's the case, don't download the app, but you'll still enjoy the benefit of no lines because you'll just be asked how you want to pay. You pay your way, and you exit the store with a paper receipt like you do today. Opportunities for everyone in this room abound, whether you're talking about coupons during the entire shopper journey. Obviously, we're going to have lots of shopper data. We're going to know what people look at, where they hover, what their average store activity is, particularly if you're on our app. For high-ticket items, credit offers. Obviously, this is a big part of fintech today. CPG advertising opportunities. Conversion of cash to digital payments, steering of payments, and then loyalty reinforcement, lots of opportunities there. So this is where people in my position have this well-curated, choreographed demo video, people tossing cans of Campbell's soup back and forth. Look at that, it's in his basket, it's in her basket, it's in his basket. This right here is real world. This you're not seeing very often right now because this is at the leading edge of computer vision in retail technology. In the upper right-hand corner, you're watching the camera by camera. For this store, this is a small format store, 2,800 square feet, literally hundreds of cameras in the G-Rail tech that I described to you earlier. And as transactions occur, as they make their way through the store, there's two shoppers in here. The green dot's another person, but the one that's on the screen is in the pink dot there. The virtual basket is on the left-hand side. So we can watch this shopper do their thing. And as they make their way to the checkout, in this version, they badge out. There's multiple versions of Grabango, but here they bypass the line. They just walk over to the badge out. They badge out, and they leave the store without having to wait. It's pretty cool. So the big question is, how big is this? Is this real and all the rest of it? Well, it's understood and agreed that it's about 765 billion minutes that American shoppers wait in grocery and C-stores. Our mission is to eliminate those lines and give these shoppers back their 765 billion minutes. Retailers, on the other hand, they're under pressure. Their costs are rising. Labor is harder and harder to come by. Healthcare, that's getting more expensive. And their top line's getting eroded by, insurgent e-com solutions or C-stores that are selling prepared meals or whatever it is that keeps them from going into the grocery store or the C-store. There are $83 billion in net profit potential by deploying invisible payments. And then from a societal standpoint, we're looking at lowering the cost of distributing food in America by 5%. 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you combine the fact that it's 5% less expensive and it's in a no theft environment, because we can track all items that are leaving the store, we know exactly where every item in that store is going, then this is when you create the opportunity to fill the proverbial food deserts. We don't see distribution from quality grocery and C-stores in the food deserts today because it's high theft and that has to be made up with higher costs, and then you have all sorts of um, negative effects that prevent people from putting stores in those areas. But when you reduce the cost by 5% and you eliminate theft in those environments, then you see the food deserts being filled in. So whichever way you look at it, it's a big opportunity. We're really having a lot of fun rolling this technology out. We'd like to continue the dialogue with you and lead this industry in delivering of invisible payments. Thanks very much.